What's up, sports fans? This is the Lucas Ross Sports Channel, and it's time to give you my New Year's Six Bowl projections heading into Week 6 of the 2023 college football season. Yesterday, I gave you my college football playoff projections. You can go back and watch that video if you have not seen it yet, and who I projected to be in the playoff based off of their performances over the weekend. And again, the New Year's Six Bowls are going to be based off, like I said, based off of how the teams performed this past weekend. And again, we've been doing this week by week, projecting what the New Year's Six Bowl games would look like based off of how the teams have been performing so far. So we're going to get into my New Year's Six Bowl projections here. Again, mostly this is based off of the other 4 New Year's Six Bowls. We'll put my playoff projections here from yesterday as well. So let's get right into it with my New Year's Six Bowl projections heading into Week 6 of the 2023 college football season. We'll start here with my playoff semifinal games from yesterday in the Rose Bowl. I have Florida State and Michigan. Michigan, very impressive performance against Nebraska this past weekend. I think that offense, finally found their, momentum and everything. The offense seems like they're doing work now. Michigan and Ohio State are both pretty similar. They couldn't find their offenses in the first few weeks of the season. It took Michigan some time, but, a little bit more time than Ohio State. But Michigan finally found their offense this past weekend against Nebraska. And again, we're going to see these teams get a lot more better as the season goes on. Florida State, they had a bye week this past weekend, so not much to talk about them. But, they still have that win over LSU, which is a big win for them. And then, of course, they have that win against Clemson on the road a couple weeks ago. So I was still very impressed with that win for Florida State. So this is, who I had in the Rose Bowl here, my playoff semifinal. No change there. In my Sugar Bowl matchup, in the number 1 versus number 4 matchup, I had Georgia and Texas still. No change here. Georgia, very sluggish against, Auburn this past weekend. I know they didn't play their best. But I tell you what, this Georgia team, it goes back to last year. They're definitely going to get better down the stretch, and we'll see what Georgia does for the rest of the year. Texas here, very impressive win against Kansas at home this past weekend. They still got that win over Alabama, which is huge for them, on the road at Tuscaloosa. So I think Texas is definitely a real good team this year. This is probably the best Texas team that we've seen in a long time, so no change here in the Sugar Bowl from yesterday in my playoff semifinal. So let's now get into the normal New Year's Six Bowl games, and we'll start here with the Cotton Bowl. No change here. I got Oklahoma and USC. Been very impressed with Oklahoma's defense and what it's done this year. I think this Oklahoma team has a really good defense this year. They finally found their defense, after being really sluggish last year. And it just seems like Oklahoma is back to where they used to be in the Big 12. That dominant team and also that really good defensive team as well. Then USC here. Not a very impressive performance against Colorado this past weekend. They did give up 41 points. That defense still has a long ways to go. Their defense is going to get better, but, we'll see what happens down the stretch there for them for the rest of the year. But, again, this is a matchup I would love to see. Lincoln Riley going up against his former team in the Cotton Bowl. But, again, USC is going to get better. Their offense might be the most dangerous in the country, but I tell you what, their defense just needs some work. So, again, this is a matchup I would love to see here in the Cotton Bowl, Oklahoma versus USC. Let's now get into the next one. It's Fiesta Bowl, Washington and Fresno State. Washington still undefeated. They had that tough win against Arizona. It was a very tough game on the road for Washington. I think, it was their first game in the Pac-12 on the road as well. So that was a very tough place to play there for Washington. I know it wasn't great performance, but I think this Washington team is still a really good offensive team. Michael Penix, definitely one of the top quarterbacks in the country. I think he's leading the country in passing yards, if I'm not mistaken. So Washington here in the Fiesta Bowl, no change here. And then Fresno State, they're one of the top Group of 5 teams in the country, and they're the only undefeated Group of 5 team as well. So no change here, my Fiesta Bowl. And I haven't really made a lot of changes to my New Year's Six Bowl games, kind of compared to last weekend. So this is my Fiesta Bowl pick. And then in the Peach Bowl, I got Penn State and Oregon. Again, this is a matchup I would love to see here in the Peach Bowl. You got, Penn State. They've been very impressive on defense. I think, that game, against, Northwestern was a pretty tough one in the first half. I tell you what, their second half performances was really good for me to kind of put them here in the Peach Bowl. So I got Penn State here and Oregon, the same matchup here in the Peach Bowl. Oregon, they had that win against Colorado this past weekend, which is a very big win for them. So yeah, Oregon and Penn State are both pretty similar. They both have great offensive teams, two great defenses. I think a lot of people would love to see this matchup here with the Big Ten and the Pac-12. Penn State, I've been very impressed with them so far this year, and I think this is a team that can really challenge for the Big Ten championship this year and also challenge Michigan and Ohio State here because Michigan, Penn State, and Ohio State are all undefeated. But this is the same matchup I had in the Peach Bowl from last week, Penn State and Oregon. Let's now go to my last New Year's Six bowl game projection here, and that is going to be the Orange Bowl. No change here either. I got Ohio State and North Carolina in the Orange Bowl. I was very impressed with Ohio State's, win against Notre Dame a couple weeks ago. They had a bye week this past weekend, so not much to talk about from last weekend. They'll play Maryland this weekend, which is a home game for them, so that's going to be a very tough one there. Maryland is also undefeated in the Big Ten. So, the Big Ten East looks like it's going to be a really good, a good division to watch this year. And then North Carolina, they also had a bye week, so not much to talk about these two teams. But no change here in my Orange Bowl. North Carolina, looks like really a good team. They had that win against Pittsburgh on the road this past weekend. North Carolina is back at home. They'll play Syracuse, tomorrow. That's going to be a very good game there, very good test for North Carolina. Good news is they get that game at home. Both of these teams have home games tomorrow. North Carolina is playing a one-loss Syracuse team, and then Ohio State's playing a undefeated Maryland team, which could be a really tricky game here for Ohio State. But this is no change here to my Orange Bowl. Again, I haven't really made any changes here to my New Year's Six bowl projections. I feel very confident with these projections and everything. But I'll tell you what, like I said in my playoff projection video, everything really could change as we get into the later part of the season. All these teams are going to get better. We're going to see the rankings change. And once the playoff rankings come and everything's going to really change as the season goes on. But we're heading into Week 6, starting tonight and then continuing all the way until the weekend. And I think Week 6 is going to be a really good weekend of college football. We could see a lot of upsets tomorrow and then some upsets over the weekend. So this is my New Year's Six bowl projections heading into Week 6 of the 2023 season. Let me guys know what you think about these New Year's Six bowls down in the comments below. Thank you for watching this video and stay tuned here for more sports content videos on my Lucas Ross Sports channel.